beneath the endless desert sands, within the yellowed pages of ancient texts, and hidden in the deep foundations of monuments that still stand after millennia, we uncover remarkable technologies that challenge everything we thought we knew about the past. Self-healing concrete that grows stronger with age, a purple stone so resilient that only diamond drills can cut through it, and swords forged with a purity that seems impossible for the era. Even a liquid fire used in naval battles that decimated entire fleets before vanishing without a trace. These remnants are the markers of engineering feats that rival modern standards. In this documentary, we'll explore 15 incredible technical milestones that were achieved, mastered, and then lost for centuries. These forgotten methods were lost along with the civilizations that once thrived on them, leaving only their physical remnants for us to examine. If this journey into the ancient world intrigues you, sit back, relax, grab a snack, and join us. If you enjoy these weekly explorations, be sure to subscribe. Now, let's dive in. Ancient Indian Wootz steel. Imagine a battlefield 2,000 years ago where one single blade could alter the fate of an entire empire. Across the world, legends spread of a metal so sharp it could slice through a falling silk veil, yet so resilient it could shatter a standard iron sword without losing its edge. These blades weren't mere weapons. They were revered as almost magical, prized by Roman emperors and sought after by the courts of ancient China. This legendary metal was known as Wootz steel, and it stands as one of the greatest mysteries in ancient material science. For over 1,000 years, the secret to its creation was fiercely guarded, hidden in the remote villages of the Indian subcontinent. The story of Wootz steel begins with its unmatched performance. In an age when most warriors wielded brittle iron swords that often bent or broke in battle, the warriors of ancient India wielded something entirely different. The Wootz blade was the perfect balance of strength and flexibility. It maintained a sharp edge, yet was resilient enough to absorb the force of a cavalry charge. Polished Wootz blades revealed a striking swirling pattern, like flowing water or shifting sands. This was no mere decoration, but the result of the metal's crystalline structure, stretching all the way through the blade. To uncover the origins of this material, we must go back to at least the 6th century BC, in the southern regions of India. The master blacksmiths of the Shur, Chola, and Pandya dynasties were not merely artisans, they were the first chemical engineers, crafting steel far ahead of their time. In regions like Tamil Nadu and the Deccan Plateau, they transformed rugged land into a vast manufacturing hub. This was a state-supported industry that fueled a global trade network, with Wootz steel serving as the most coveted export, trading for Roman gold and Mediterranean wine. Creating a single Wootz blade was a process of immense patience and precise control. The smiths employed a unique crucible method, very different from European techniques. They placed high-purity iron ore into small, hand-crafted clay vessels with organic materials like wood and leaves from the Cassia auriculata plant. Sealed airtight, these vessels were placed in furnaces, where they would heat for days. This controlled, oxygen-free environment allowed the iron to absorb carbon from the plant matter, transforming it into a high-carbon alloy, with a precision so fine that modern technology struggles to match it. The key to this process lay in the organic materials used, and modern science has uncovered that these ancient smiths were, in effect, practicing early nanotechnology. Studies in the 1990s revealed that these materials acted as chemical catalysts, creating carbon nanotubes and nanowires in the steel, structures that made the metal incredibly tough. These ancient craftsmen had mastered the manipulation of steel at the molecular level, thousands of years before scientists even knew what a molecule was. Wootz steel was essential for the specialized weapons needed by the military powers of southern India. The South Indian empires, both naval and land-based superpowers, required weapons that could endure intense, prolonged combat. One such weapon was the urumi, a flexible whip sword, which needed a steel capable of coiling and snapping without breaking. Only Wootz steel, with its unique molecular structure, could withstand such stress, giving their warriors an edge that was both psychological and physical. The demand for Wootz steel spread across the world, and in the early 1800s, British scientist Michael Faraday became obsessed with replicating it. Despite being the man who first unlocked the mysteries of electromagnetism, Faraday failed to reproduce the Wootz process. His experiments lacked the distinctive swirling pattern and internal strength of the original Wootz blades, leading him to abandon the effort. It wasn't until later studies revealed that the secret wasn't just in the heat or carbon, but in the specific iron ore of the Deccan Plateau, which contained trace amounts of vanadium. This rare element was crucial for creating the cementite nanowires that gave Wootz its extraordinary properties. When the ore began to run out in the 19th century, the unique patterns vanished, and the process was lost. The British East India Company, recognizing the potential threat to their imported steel industry, outlawed local steel production and dismantled the Wootz industry. The knowledge, passed down through generations of master smiths, died with the last craftsman. Today, while we can create strong alloys, we still struggle to replicate the exact nanostructures of Wootz steel using traditional methods. The shimmering water patterns on these ancient blades stand as a testament to a peak of human ingenuity that remains beyond our full understanding. While the metallurgists of ancient India were perfecting the art of steel across the world, a different group of pioneers were making waves, literally. The Polynesians, navigating vast oceans without metal tools or compasses, were mastering the art of oceanic exploration. Over 3,000 years ago, they began settling the Pacific, covering nearly a third of the Earth's surface. Using only the stars and the motion of the sea, these master navigators charted a course that would lead them to distant lands, including Hawaii, New Zealand, and Easter Island. Their wayfinding system was so precise it could detect land even before it became visible on the horizon. This journey wasn't a random drift, but a deliberate and well-planned migration. The Polynesians developed a system of wave navigation, sensing the behavior of deep sea swells caused by distant storms. These swells, traveling across entire ocean basins, were the key to their navigation. By feeling the motion of the waves, navigators could maintain a steady course, even without the stars to guide them. To track these swells, the Polynesians developed detailed mental maps of the ocean's surface. Their understanding of how waves refracted and reflected around islands allowed them to detect land long before they could see it. These navigators, known as the Palu, began training as children, memorizing hundreds of stars and wave patterns, passing down their knowledge through generations. This tradition became essential to the survival of island communities, ensuring the transport of vital resources across the Pacific. In the 20th century, the accuracy of this traditional navigation system was proven during the historic 1976 voyage of the Hokua, a replica Hawaiian canoe. Led by master navigator Mau Pilot, the crew sailed from Hawaii to Tahiti using only traditional methods. Without a compass or any modern instruments, they reached their destination exactly as planned, proving that Polynesian navigation was not only possible but highly precise. However, the arrival of Western explorers and modern technology led to the decline of this tradition. Instruments like the sextant and chronometer made traditional navigation seem obsolete, and the younger generations began to lose their connection to the ocean's rhythms. Today, while the basic principles of wayfinding are being revived, the subtle skills that allowed navigators to feel the ocean's true patterns are almost lost. Yet the legacy of Polynesian navigation remains, a testament to human ability to understand and interpret the natural world with remarkable precision. As we explore these ancient accomplishments, we witness the awe-inspiring mastery that these civilizations held over their environments, proving that human ingenuity has always been capable of reaching heights we're still trying to fully comprehend. The Nabotans, once a nomadic Arab tribe, settled in a seemingly impractical region around the 4th century BC, located in an area with less than 6 inches of annual rainfall. Their choice of location seemed flawed for establishing a permanent city. Yet Petra flourished, becoming home to an estimated 30,000 people at its height. The city didn't just survive, it thrived, boasting lush public gardens, expansive open-air pools, and year-round fountains. All of this was made possible through a profound understanding of hydrology and a system for managing gradients, allowing them to harness every drop of moisture from the surrounding land. The heart of their success lay in a hidden network of over 800 underground cisterns. These were not mere holes in the ground, but meticulously engineered chambers carved directly into the bedrock to prevent water from seeping into the porous sandstone or evaporating under the scorching sun. The Nabotans developed a unique waterproof plaster. Chemical analysis shows that this plaster, made from a mix of lime and volcanic ash, created a durable hydraulic seal that hardened when in contact with water. By keeping these reservoirs underground and sealed, the water remained cool and free from bacteria that would otherwise thrive in open desert pools. Transporting water into the heart of Petra was a monumental task that required precise mathematical calculations. The Nabotans laid miles of terracotta pipes along the cliff faces, maintaining a consistent downward gradient of exactly 4 degrees. This specific slope was vital. Too steep, and the water pressure would burst the ceramic joints; too shallow, and the water would stagnate or fail to reach its destination. This engineering marvel allowed the Nabotans to bring water from springs located miles away, solely through the power of gravity. Water control was the Nabotans' primary means of securing wealth. Positioned at the crossroads of key trade routes for frankincense and myrrh, Petra became a strategic hub. Caravan leaders traveling from southern Arabia to the Mediterranean had no choice but to pass through Nabotan territory. By providing reliable water and protection in a region where both were scarce, the Nabotans created a monopoly on trade. They levied heavy taxes on passage and water rights, transforming their nomadic tribe into one of the wealthiest kingdoms of the ancient world. Modern technology has unveiled the true scale of Nabotan engineering. Laser light scans conducted by researchers like T.S. Ashi and the Petra National Trust have mapped the surface ruins, revealing a hidden network beneath the sand. These scans uncovered thousands of previously undetected channels, diversion dams, and terrace systems. These structures had a dual function. During the dry season, they channeled moisture into the cisterns. During the occasional but fierce winter storms, they acted as flood control systems, capturing the floodwaters for later use while protecting the city from being washed away. The fall of this incredible water empire began with the Roman annexation in 106 AD. While the Romans were excellent engineers, their presence shifted the region's priorities. The specialized labor force responsible for maintaining the terracotta pipes and cleaning the silt traps was redirected to other imperial projects, and the systems began to degrade. Over time, without the constant desilting, the underground channels became clogged. Major earthquakes in the 4th and 6th centuries caused further damage to the cisterns and aqueducts. Lacking the knowledge and resources to repair the infrastructure, the city's population dwindled, and the desert slowly reclaimed Petra. In the 20th century, archaeologists and engineers began to understand that Petra was more than just a collection of ruins; it was an engineering marvel. Today, modern desert engineers study the Nabotan methods to design sustainable water harvesting systems in arid regions. The Nabotan's small-scale, decentralized water collection system is often more efficient in desert climates than the large-scale dams used today, which lose vast amounts of water to evaporation. While we now understand the physics behind their pipes and gradients, the full scale of their underground network remains a feat of water conservation that modern technology has yet to replicate. As the Nabotans hid their water underground, the Romans were mastering a different kind of material science, the manipulation of light. This brings us to the mystery of the Lycurgus cup, a piece of glass that could alter its color in ways that wouldn't be replicated for over 1,000 years. At first glance, the cup appears to be a beautifully crafted decorative object. However, when lit from different angles, it reveals a physical property that stunned researchers for centuries. Made in the mid-4th century AD, the Lycurgus cup was part of a style known as cage cup vessels, elaborate, expensive, and technically difficult to produce. The cup, made from a rare type of glass, is the only known example crafted from Droic glass. Its imagery, depicting the mythical king Lycurgus being strangled by grapevines for his arrogance, serves as a metaphor for the power of the wine it was designed to hold. The most striking feature of the cup is its optical behavior. Lit from the front, it appears opaque and green, but when illuminated from behind, the glass turns translucent and blood red. For many years, this color change was believed to be a fluke of the glassmaking process. But in 1990, researchers at the British Museum used a transmission electron microscope to examine fragments from the cup. They discovered that the glass was infused with microscopic particles of silver and gold, suspended as nanoparticles. These metals were ground to an incredibly small size, just 70 nanometers, roughly 1/1000th the size of a grain of salt. When light interacts with these nanoparticles, it scatters shorter wavelengths of light, making the cup appear green. But when light passes through the glass from behind, it allows longer wavelengths like red to pass through while blocking others. The precision required to achieve this effect suggests that the Romans had developed a highly controlled chemical process. They mastered the delicate balance of silver and gold particles, ensuring their even distribution throughout the glass. This level of expertise hints at a highly specialized guild of glassmakers who passed their techniques down through generations. The purpose of the cup was not just artistic, but a display of imperial luxury and engineering skill. The loss of this technology came with the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century. As the empire fragmented, the supply chains for pure gold and silver disappeared, and the knowledge required to create Doric glass was lost for over 1,600 years. It wasn't until the late 19th century that chemists began to understand the role of colloidal metals in glass coloring, but by then the art had vanished. Even today, while we can replicate the Doric effect in a laboratory, we cannot fully explain how the Romans achieved such molecular precision without the tools we have today. The Lycurgus cup challenges our understanding of ancient craftsmanship. It shows that even in the 4th century, artisans were capable of performing what we now call material science without modern tools. The cup is a testament to a peak of technical achievement that was reached, mastered, and then completely forgotten. Meanwhile, in the East, engineers were focused on a different challenge: the regulation of time. In 1088, during the Song dynasty, a polymath named Su Song designed the cosmic engine, a massive water-driven clock tower that would remain the most advanced timekeeping device for nearly 3 centuries. This clock tower, standing 40 feet tall, served as an imperial calendar, a celestial observatory, and a public timekeeper, all powered by a continuous flow of water. Su Song's clock relied on a series of reservoirs and a giant water wheel featuring 36 individual buckets. His precise system of water regulation kept the clock's time accurate by maintaining constant water pressure. Each bucket, once filled, triggered a mechanism that moved the clock's gears. This intricate system powered a celestial armillary sphere at the top of the tower, which modeled the movement of the stars in real time. The cosmic engine was more than just a timepiece. It was a political tool. In imperial China, the emperor's authority was tied to the accurate measurement of time and the stars. Su Song's invention ensured that the emperor's mandate remained legitimate by accurately tracking celestial movements and the calendar. Today, modern engineers have replicated Su Song's cosmic engine using his original diagrams, but the complexity of the system, requiring constant manual adjustment, proves just how advanced this 11th century technology was. The loss of this technology, coinciding with the invasion of the Jin Empire in 1127, marked the end of a golden age of Chinese engineering. Despite the passage of time, the legacy of these ancient engineers lives on, inspiring modern efforts to understand the remarkable feats of the past. The invading forces, when they arrived, found that they could not reassemble the intricate network of levers and gears. The specialized engineers who understood the delicate balance of the system had either been killed or refused to cooperate. The tower was left to rust, and its components were likely melted down for bronze. As the Song court retreated south, the original blueprints and Su Song's technical notes were either lost or hidden. Later dynasties tried to build their own water clocks, but none reached the same level of complexity or astronomical precision as the Kaifeng Tower. The specific knowledge of liquid-driven escapement faded from the Chinese record. By the time the first European mechanical clocks arrived in China in the 16th century, local officials were astonished by the new technology, unaware that their ancestors had mastered the same principles centuries earlier. Reconstructing the tower today has revealed that the cosmic engine was not merely a clock, but a simulation of the natural world. Water was chosen as the power source deliberately, aligning the machine with the flow of nature. Modern replicas in museums show the physical presence of the machine, but they often fail to replicate the original's reliability. While we can now produce the gears with laser precision, maintaining accurate time with the drip of water into a wooden bucket remains a difficult challenge for modern clockmakers. This process demands a level of patience and observational skill that our digital era has largely moved away from, as engineers in the Song dynasty used water to track the movements of the stars. The Byzantine Empire was using a different kind of liquid to protect the borders of their capital. Greek fire, a terrifying substance, secured the survival of the Eastern Roman Empire for centuries. First used in the 7th century AD, Greek fire was a liquid that burned at intense heat and could not be extinguished by water. It even burned while floating on the surface of the ocean, making it the ultimate naval weapon. In 673, when a massive naval fleet launched an attack on Constantinople, the Byzantines were vastly outnumbered. Amid this crisis, a refugee named Callinicus of Heliopolis introduced a weapon that would change naval warfare: a liquid fire that could be projected from ships. This was no simple fire arrow, but a sophisticated chemical weapon system. The Greek fire system involved two components: the chemical mixture and the delivery mechanism. The Byzantines used a pressurized bronze pump, akin to a modern flamethrower, to force the liquid through a bronze nozzle mounted on the ship's bow. The pressure allowed them to spray a stream of fire over a distance of several dozen yards. The sound was described as thunderous. The delivery system required high levels of skill in metalworking, as the pumps needed to be airtight and capable of handling both the heat of the boiling liquid and the pressure. If the seals on the pipes failed, the weapon became just as dangerous to the Byzantine sailors as it was to the enemy. Ships with this weapon had specialized engineers on board to maintain the system during battle. The chemical properties of Greek fire made it ideal for naval combat. Unlike most fires that could be extinguished with seawater, Greek fire reacted more violently when exposed to water. It adhered to the wooden hulls of ships and to the clothing of sailors, making it nearly impossible to extinguish. Historical accounts suggest only sand, strong vinegar, or human urine could reliably put out the flames. The exact chemical makeup of Greek fire is still a subject of debate among modern researchers. Forensic analysis of Byzantine texts suggests that it was made from crude oil, resins, sulfur, and possibly quicklime. The use of quicklime would explain the fire's ignition when it made contact with seawater. Greek fire was a closely guarded state secret. Emperor Constantine Edithuri even claimed the formula was a divine gift to the first Emperor Constantine, and that anyone who shared the secret would be struck down by lightning. To maintain secrecy, the formula was divided among different families, each responsible for a part of the process. This extreme secrecy contributed to the eventual loss of the technology. When Constantinople was attacked during the Fourth Crusade in 1204, much of the city's infrastructure was destroyed and the secret of Greek fire was lost. By the time the Ottomans captured Constantinople in 1453, the Byzantines had lost their most effective weapon, leaving them defenseless. Greek fire had a profound impact on the course of history. For over 500 years, it allowed the Byzantines to maintain naval superiority, effectively preventing caliphates from expanding into Europe. But the loss of the secret was more than just the loss of a weapon. It was the loss of a strategic advantage that had kept the empire safe. Attempts to recreate Greek fire in modern times have been largely unsuccessful. While substances like napalm can burn on water, they rely on synthetic materials. When researchers attempt to replicate Greek fire using only 7th century materials, they struggle to reproduce the specific sticky quality and roaring combustion described in ancient texts. The true composition of Greek fire remains a mystery, a chemical secret that was so effectively concealed that no one has been able to fully understand or replicate it. While the Byzantines were mastering the use of fire, the Persians were developing an entirely different form of engineering to make the desert habitable. In the central Iranian desert, particularly in Yazd, the landscape is dominated by tall, chimney-like structures known as wind catchers. These towers, which have stood for centuries, provide a constant flow of cool air to buildings without using a single moving part or a watt of electricity. In a region where temperatures often exceed 40 degrees C in the summer, these towers were essential for sustaining a sophisticated urban civilization. The wind catchers work on two key principles, Bernoulli's principle and the stack effect. Bernoulli's principle explains that as air flows faster, its pressure decreases. When wind hits the top of the tower, it creates a high-pressure zone that forces the air downward into the building. At the same time, a low-pressure zone is created on the opposite side, helping to pull warm air out. The stack effect works with this system, as the rising warm air creates an upward draft that draws hot air from the building. On days with little wind, the tower pulls hot air up, while a breeze helps to push cool air down. These towers were often placed over underground water channels called qanats, which carried water from distant mountains to the city. As dry desert air was funneled into the tower, it passed over the cold, flowing water, cooling the air through evaporative cooling. This process created a chilled breeze, similar to modern air conditioning. The wind catcher system allowed for subterranean rooms, or sardabs, where residents could stay comfortable even during the hottest part of the day. The architects behind these towers were experts in local microclimates, understanding how to adapt the design for different wind patterns. They could determine the ideal height, number of openings, and internal partitions based on the local environment. This regional expertise was passed down through generations, and though modern scientific studies have confirmed the effectiveness of the wind catchers, much of the subtle hands-on knowledge has been lost. In the 20th century, researchers like Mehdi Bahadori conducted studies that proved the efficiency of the wind catchers. More recently, computational fluid dynamics simulations have confirmed their effectiveness in cooling large spaces, often outperforming modern mechanical systems. However, with the advent of cheap electricity and modern air conditioning, the use of wind catchers began to decline in the mid-20th century. Many towers fell into disrepair as residents opted for easier-to-maintain systems. Today, engineers are working to revive the technology, incorporating modern materials and sometimes small fans to improve efficiency. The Persian wind catchers stand as a testament to ancient ingenuity. While they mastered the movement of air, the Romans were busy developing concrete that would allow them to build on an unprecedented scale. Roman concrete, known as opus caementicium, has endured for over 2 millennia, with structures such as harbors and temples remaining solid and functional. Roman engineers created a pourable hydraulic concrete that revolutionized construction. Unlike modern concrete, which degrades over time, Roman concrete actually grows stronger when exposed to seawater. This ability is due to the reaction between the volcanic ash used in the mix and the salt water. For centuries, historians believed Roman concrete was just a primitive version of modern cement. However, recent studies have revealed the true secret behind its durability. The Romans used a specific type of volcanic ash called pozzolana, found around Mount Vesuvius, mixed with quicklime to create a self-healing material. When cracks appeared in the concrete, water would trigger the release of calcium, which would then recrystallize and seal the crack, repairing the structure from the inside. This innovation allowed the Romans to build monumental structures, like the Pantheon, without the need for support beams. The use of Roman concrete extended beyond buildings to underwater structures like harbors, which remained intact for centuries. This technology was a key factor in Rome's military and civil infrastructure, allowing the empire to construct durable, reliable structures quickly and efficiently. However, as the empire collapsed, so did the supply chains that provided the necessary materials. The loss of knowledge about Roman concrete led to the widespread use of simpler lime mortars in the Middle Ages a technology that lacked the self-healing and durability of Roman concrete. In the 21st century, engineers are looking to Roman concrete as a potential solution to modern construction challenges. By using volcanic ash and self-healing lime, they hope to create more durable, sustainable concrete that requires less maintenance and reduces the environmental impact of construction. While we now understand the chemistry behind Roman concrete, replicating the process on a large scale remains a challenge. The loss of this ancient knowledge underscores the complexity and brilliance of Roman engineering, a legacy that continues to inspire modern innovation. The cuniculi, far from being simple drainage tunnels, were a sophisticated form of environmental engineering that allowed the Etruscans to manage the landscape and provide a sustainable source of water. Carved into porous volcanic rock, these tunnels acted like horizontal wells, naturally collecting water that filtered through the rock. This water was then used for both irrigation and urban consumption, turning the landscape into a fertile heartland for agriculture. This dual-purpose design, for drainage during the rainy season and water collection in the summer, reflects a comprehensive approach to civil engineering that harmonized with the natural cycles of the environment. However, when Rome rose to power and conquered the Etruscan city of Veii in 396 BC, they inherited the landscape, but failed to maintain the intricate hydraulic systems beneath it. The cuniculae were not self-sustaining and required regular maintenance to clear silt and debris. As the Romans focused more on grand monuments and military expansion, the upkeep of these tunnels was neglected. Without proper care, the tunnels became clogged, and the valleys returned to their swampy, stagnant state. This ecological change brought with it a rise in malaria, which plagued the Roman countryside for centuries, affecting both the population and the economy. The Etruscan hydraulic system was lost, and the fertile land became a breeding ground for disease. While the Romans built their aqueducts to bring fresh water to the cities, these systems were designed for a different purpose, delivering water under pressure for public baths and fountains. Unlike the Etruscan cuniculi, which were a form of passive engineering, Roman aqueducts were active systems. The Romans adapted the concept of gradient management and vertical shafts, but never replicated the Etruscan focus on the entire landscape's drainage. The Etruscans viewed the earth as something to be balanced, while the Romans sought to reshape and conquer it. Today, engineers recognize the cuniculae as an achievement in sustainable land management. Though we can now measure these gradients using modern tools, the manual precision with which the Etruscans carved their tunnels remains a remarkable feat of ancient engineering. The cuniculi are a physical record of a civilization that adapted its environment to its needs, only for that environment to reclaim itself when the technical knowledge was lost. While the Etruscans were mastering the land, the Maya were charting the heavens. In the tropical lowlands of modern-day Mexico, Guatemala, and Belize, the Maya built a civilization deeply connected to the stars. They were not just observers of the cosmos, but mathematicians with a precise understanding of the cycles of the sun, moon, and planets. Their technical legacy survives in large stone monuments and surviving codices like the Dresden Codex, which records the movements of Venus over centuries. The Maya tracked time through interlocking calendars. The Socan, a 260-day ritual calendar, was likely tied to the human gestation cycle or the agricultural seasons, while the Hab, a 360-day solar calendar, tracked the year. These two calendars worked in tandem, completing a cycle every 52 years, known as the calendar round. The Maya also developed the long count, a linear count of days that began in 3114 BC using a vigesimal numbering system. This calendar system allowed them to calculate dates millions of years in the past or future. One of their most impressive astronomical achievements was calculating the Venus cycle. The Maya priests calculated the synodic period of Venus, the time it takes for Venus to return to the same position in the sky, at 584 days, a value that closely matches the modern measurement of 583.92 days. Their system had an error of just 1 day in 6,000 years. This was accomplished without telescopes, clocks, or metal tools, using only naked eye observations. Mayan astronomical precision was not limited to their calendars. They also aligned their buildings with celestial events, particularly the rising and setting positions of Venus. This alignment was so precise that buildings like the Caracol at Chichen Itza and the Governor's Palace at Oxmal were essentially stone instruments designed to record the movements of the stars. In 2012, a significant discovery at the ruins of Zoltun revealed the active scribal process of Maya astronomers. Inside a small house, archaeologists found paintings and mathematical notations showing that the Maya continuously refined their calculations over generations. However, much of this knowledge was lost after the Spanish conquest. In 1562, a Franciscan friar named Diego de Landa ordered the burning of Mayan books, wiping out centuries of knowledge. The destruction of these texts ensured that much of the mathematical and astronomical knowledge of the Maya was lost. Although the Maya continued to use the 260-day and 360-day calendars, the deeper long count calculations faded from use. Modern studies of Maya astronomy confirm the accuracy of their data, but how they achieved such precision without mechanical tools remains a mystery. The Mayas' advanced mathematical system, which included the concept of zero and a base 20 system, is a testament to their intellectual achievement. Despite the destruction of their written records, their stone monuments still stand as a record of their ability to map the cosmos through careful observation. The Maya viewed the universe as a cyclical, ordered system, and their mathematical rigor set them apart from other ancient cultures. While the Maya were mapping the heavens, a different kind of technological breakthrough was taking place in northern Europe. Between the 9th and 11th centuries, the Vikings were wielding a type of sword that was far superior to anything else available at the time, the Elfbert sword. These swords were made from high, carbon crucible steel, a material so advanced that it wouldn't be replicated in Europe until the Industrial Revolution. The Elfbert swords were not just weapons, they were status symbols, reserved for the elite warriors of the Viking Age. The Elfbert swords were made using a technique called crucible steel production, which involved heating iron to a high temperature until it became liquid, allowing impurities to be removed and creating a more consistent, higher quality steel. This process resulted in a sword that was stronger, lighter, and more flexible than the typical swords of the time, which were made using pattern welding. The superior quality of the Elfbert swords allowed Viking warriors to engage in a more agile and effective style of combat. These swords became prized possessions, traded across Europe and beyond. The mystery of the Elfbert swords lies in how they were made. The swords were forged in the Rhineland, part of the Carolingian Empire, where master smiths worked under strict regulations. But the technology that made the swords possible may have come from further east, through trade routes that connected the Vikings with the Islamic world, where advanced metallurgical techniques like Wootz steel were already in use. The decline of the Elfbert swords coincided with the collapse of these trade routes in the 11th century, and the production of these high-quality blades ceased. The loss of the technology behind the Elfbert sword is a fascinating example of how the collapse of global trade networks can lead to the loss of highly specialized knowledge. It would not be until the Bessemer process in the 19th century that Europe would again produce steel of similar purity. Modern blacksmiths can replicate Elfbert swords using modern furnaces, but recreating them with only the tools and methods available to the Vikings is still a challenge. The Elfbert swords remain a symbol of a lost technological achievement, one that was dependent on a global network of trade and knowledge that was severed long ago. In Delhi, another lost metallurgical achievement stands as a testament to ancient Indian craftsmanship, the Iron Pillar of Delhi. Standing 23 feet tall and weighing 6 tons, this pillar has remained rust-free for over 1,600 years, defying the natural process of corrosion. Scientists now understand that the pillar's rustlessness is due to a specific chemical reaction involving the high phosphorus content of the iron used in its construction. The protective layer formed on the pillar's surface is a dense, stable mineral called misoite, which has effectively sealed the iron off from the environment, preventing further corrosion. This ancient technology was a product of the Gupta Empire's golden age, a period marked by significant advancements in chemistry and metallurgy. The pillar was not cast in a single mold, but was forged using a labor-intensive process of welding small lumps of hot iron together. The result was a 6-ton, solid iron column that has survived for centuries, despite being exposed to Delhi's humid climate. The Gupta Empire's understanding of materials and their ability to manipulate the properties of metals was unmatched at the time. The iron pillar stands as a testament to their advanced chemical knowledge, a marvel of ancient engineering that continues to baffle modern scientists. This level of precision in metallurgy, seen in the Ulfbert swords, the iron pillar, and other ancient technologies, highlights a period of human ingenuity that modern science is still trying to fully understand. These lost technologies, once thought to be impossible, continue to inspire researchers and engineers as they search for ways to replicate and build upon the achievements of ancient civilizations. These ancient metallurgists were far from simple blacksmiths. They were early chemists who had a deep understanding of how different ores and fuel sources impacted the final product. They utilized charcoal-based smelting, which allowed for a more controlled and slow chemical exchange between the fuel and the metal. This was the foundation of Indian metallurgy, which became renowned for producing some of the finest iron and steel in the ancient world. The study of the iron pillar reached a turning point when Balasubramanian's work revealed that the durability of the pillar was a direct result of ancient smelting techniques. He demonstrated that the ancient Indian methods essentially created a self-healing material. When the pillar's surface is scratched or chipped, the exposed iron reacts with the air to form a new layer of mica-white. This level of environmental adaptation is something modern metallurgical engineers are still trying to replicate in sustainable ways. The loss of this technology occurred during the 19th century with the onset of the Industrial Revolution in India. The British colonial administration introduced coal-based smelting, which, while faster and capable of producing larger quantities of iron, introduced impurities, specifically sulfur. These impurities interfered with the formation of the protective mica-white layer. As the specialized knowledge of ancient smelting guilds died out, the ability to produce rustless iron on the same scale was lost. The transition from charcoal to coal permanently altered the chemistry of Indian iron. What replaced the older wrought iron were mass-produced cast iron and steel, which, though stronger, lacked the unique corrosion resistance of the Gupta-era metals. The traditional smiths, no longer commissioned for large public monuments, saw their oral traditions go unrecorded. By the mid-19th century, the specific recipe for creating the phosphorus-rich passive film had been lost, replaced by modern galvanization and chemical coatings that require constant maintenance. Monuments and buildings across India still use this iron technology, including the massive iron beams found in the Konark Sun Temple and the temple at Puri. These structures used iron as structural reinforcement, allowing for much larger stone spans. In these coastal environments, where salt air posed a constant threat, rustless iron was essential. The fact that these beams have survived the salty air for 800 years is a testament to the consistency of this metallurgical tradition before its eventual decline. Today, we can create various rust-resistant alloys like stainless steel by adding large amounts of chromium and nickel, but these are energy-intensive and expensive to produce. The iron pillar represents a different approach, a simple wrought iron that uses its internal chemistry to protect itself. We can replicate the chemical signature today, but we struggle to replicate the longevity of this material without modern additives. The pillar remains a physical record of a time when Indian metallurgy was the most advanced in the world, utilizing the natural properties of the earth to create something that transcends time. While Indian metallurgists were mastering the chemistry of iron, the Inca in the Andes were manipulating the very foundations of the earth to create structures that would withstand the tectonic violence of the region. High above Cusco, in modern-day Peru, lies Sacsayhuaman, a massive citadel made of some of the largest and most precisely fitted stone blocks in human history. To the Spanish conquistadors who first saw it in the 16th century, The sight was so baffling they believed it must have been built by demons, not men. The sheer scale of Sacsayhuaman reveals a level of logistical coordination unmatched in the pre-Columbian Americas. The site is defined by 3 parallel zigzag walls, each stretching over 400 meters, composed of limestone blocks, some of which are over 9 meters tall and weigh as much as 120 tons. Despite their immense size and irregular shapes, these stones fit together so precisely that not a single blade of grass could be inserted between the joints. This was achieved without mortar iron tools, or even the wheel, making it a masterpiece of mechanical engineering and the largest structure ever attempted in the pre-Columbian Americas. The Incas' rise to power was swift, transforming from a small tribe in the Cusco Valley into the largest empire in the Western Hemisphere in just under a century. Their building style evolved from modest fieldstone constructions to the monumental stonework seen at Sacsayhuaman. For the Inca, stone was sacred, and by precisely shaping and joining stones without mortar, they believed they were creating divine harmony between human labor and nature. This shift coincided with the reign of Pachacuti, the 9th Sapper Inca, who also used stonework as a political tool to demonstrate imperial control. To move 120-ton boulders, the Inca utilized ramps made of compacted earth and gravel, and thick ropes woven from tough Andean grass. They lubricated these ramps with wet clay or round river stones, functioning as primitive ball bearings. The labor force, which was organized through the MITIA system, worked in constant shifts to transport the stones. Some were specialists, while the majority provided the raw power needed to haul the massive blocks. The precision required for such coordination was supported by rhythmic chanting and whistles, ensuring that hundreds of men pulled at the same time to create enough kinetic energy to overcome the static friction of the stones. Sacsayhuaman's walls were not just a defensive feat, but also a political statement, designed to demonstrate the Incas' mastery over the mountains. The zigzag pattern allowed defenders to rain down projectiles on attackers, and the site also served as a ceremonial center for the festival of Inti Raymi, dedicated to the sun god. On a deeper level, it was built to show that the Inca were the ultimate masters of their environment. This was not merely a fortress, it was the reshaping of a mountain to reflect imperial power. The stonework at Sacsayhuaman was also an advanced seismic technology. The Andes are seismically active, and the stones of the walls were designed to absorb the shock of an earthquake. When a tremor hit, the stones would shift and vibrate in place, absorbing the energy and then settling back into their original positions. While Spanish colonial buildings in Cusco have collapsed repeatedly due to earthquakes, the walls of Sacsayhuaman have remained unmoved for 6 centuries. The method of shaping these stones remained a mystery until researcher Jean-Pierre Protzen's experimental archaeology in the 1980s. He demonstrated that the limestone could be shaped using hammerstones and harder river rocks, but the logistics of fitting these massive stones with such precision is still a topic of debate. The Spanish, unable to destroy or move the massive stones, dismantled the upper portions of the walls to use the stone for their own construction projects in Cusco. However, the lower tiers remained intact, as the stones were simply too large for 16th century technology to handle. The ruins we see today are just the remnants of a far grander structure, built with a precision that modern engineers still struggle to replicate. Through LAR and 3D modeling, researchers are uncovering the hidden drainage systems and subterranean chambers that the Inca built into the site, revealing the full scale of their architectural ingenuity. The methods used by the Inca at Sacsayhuaman remain a marvel of ancient engineering, just as the self-healing iron of India and the lost technologies of other civilizations continue to inspire modern engineers. The Inca were not only masters of stone, they were also pioneers of seismic engineering, and their understanding of the Earth's movements has left a legacy that still stands today.